What's up, guys? It's Captain Cook. Welcome back to the Spicy Memories podcast, the podcast where we talk about food and stuff. This is episode, oh, Christ, I don't know. I want to say 8. I think I had the last one up in the early days of quarantine, and then, everyone's quarantine and depression kicked in timely. So I was just like, I don't need to do a podcast. But today I'm joined by a very special guest, somebody who she and I found each other on Instagram. And we're both local to the same county, which is this amazing thing of social media that connects people, which we're going to go into a little bit in these 30-ish, 40 minutes. And yeah, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Marla, who
Thank
runs,
you.
how you doing? Marla runs
Good.
MarlaBethDesigns.
Yeah.
She's an artist. You're based out of Westchester as well as me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so why don't you just give us like a little bit of background, tell us how long you've been actually pumping up the Instagram itself and, how long you've been painting, stuff like that. So.
Okay, well, I've been painting my whole life. I grew up on Bob Ross, and I would just set up shop in my parents' living room with the TV on and just try to mimic everything he did on an easel. And I took art lessons every summer. Summer camp was art. And I've always done it, but I've only just done it for myself. So once the quarantine came and I was stuck home with my family, I just took to my studio, which is the garage, and started my painting again. And I put it on social media. I don't know, I never showed it to the world. So I'm like, what the heck? I have nothing to lose right now. My kids are being homeschooled and I'm in pajamas all day. What the heck?
Yeah, that was pretty much us for a while. Yeah.
So it just got such an amazing welcome. Just even friends I had didn't know I did this. So I just gained all these followers and other artists and people asking for commissioned work, and I've done,
which is great. I mean, when you get people that involved to the point where they want your art, they want to own your art. I mean, because it's even hard, even for people that are offering services, not just because you could not offer any services. You could just paint and post photos of your art, and people could just look and enjoy it. You don't need that kind of level of monetization, but
right.
You got it, and you got it very early on, which I'll get into in a little bit about your growth, which, I know growths are usually things that people want to keep between them and their doctors. But in this case, as far as your social media growth, we will get into that. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
So yeah, it started with the commissions, and I was doing virtual consultations, and people would show me their wall space, and I got a little tour of whatever room they wanted the painting in, and it's all contactless delivery, and so it really, the quarantine, it didn't affect the work I was doing. And then I don't know, I started in June, and I turned my personal Instagram account, and it only had 300 or so followers. It was just friends and family until today. It is what it is, and it's this wonderful artist community that I've been introduced to, which has been the best part.
That's, and I think, and we're proof of that right now. I think that one of the best things that has come out of Instagram and social media networking and all that is the people that you meet. And it's making connections. I mean, through that, I've become friends with people, good friends with people, the girl, my friend Sarah that does all of my tattoos. I found her, I found her work, online. And then she showed me an Instagram that she and her friend Jonna run called Boozy Hops, which is based out of Westchester, Rockland, and all this. And they do beer and food and stuff. And then we met up and we did a collab last year. So it was and then now we actually, we hang out. We're friends. So it's, I think it's really great that, these social media kind of platforms, as much as, people are kind of weary of them, they do kind of give us all this nice kind of shared space, which is awesome. I love. And to piggyback off what you were saying, you started in June with converting your Instagram. So we're talking June, July, August, and September just barely ended. So not even really October. So 4 months. In 4 months, you went from 300 something followers to you have now over 1100. You have 1126. Now that's awesome. Okay. Now 1126, you're not going to be on the trending page necessarily, but to go from what you did in that amount of time to have organic growth as well and not pay for followers or any of that
Right.
stupid crap that people do. Because like a lot of people do that. They'll pay a
I
lot
would,
of money for followers and they're all like, robots, or they're people that'll be guided to your page. And so they're not actual followers. What you've had is called organic growth, which is great. And to go up that much in a short amount of time is, insanity. Um, but it's really amazing to have you on. And your art is, I guess if I had to choose a single word, I would just say happy.
so
It's very,
it's happy art.
yeah.
And especially in this world where, I mean, I can't turn on the TV anymore. I'm sick of politics. I'm just sick of nothing's good anymore. I mean, when your kids can't even go to school,
I know.
things aren't good. So to just get people smiling and, well, my work has this, shimmer and glitter in it. And from like the manliest man, I who wouldn't love pink and glitter? They love the pink and the glitter. So something is like
Hey, there is nothing wrong with pink and glitter, okay? I
right.
say that as a person who has tattoos, is wearing a skeleton shirt, and very clearly needs to rebel. There is nothing wrong with pink and glitter, okay?
Real men wear pink.
Yes, exactly. Even on the inside, my God. But no, I do have to say I love the art. I'm looking up the feed. I mean, even just like having the feed open, you guys can see, even just having it open like that, it's got this like kind of poppy color. The style is something I just wanted to ask briefly. Before I get into that, because I have a short list, and a long one up here. So I read that article. Your article, it was written in, hold on, I don't want to get this wrong. Excuse me un momento. The Westmore News, right? Which is like Portchester and Rybrook, right? A friend of mine actually just became a substitute teacher at Blindbrook. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't make it, yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentioned in there that this kind of started because this craziness from quarantine had kind of lost to something that you called a loss of identity,
Yeah.
right? I'd like to just briefly tell me, I guess, how that kind of started and when you kind of identified it. I think a lot of us went through a very similar experience, but I think a lot of us have a problem articulating it and maybe actually being able to say, like, well, it took me to this point where I was like, this is why I'm feeling like this, and you don't have to I'm not asking you to, I don't want to have you end up, weeping, but, just like a brief kind of explanation as to how you kind of had like the light bulb go off, I guess.
Well, being an at-home mom, for one, you know, you do everything for your kids. And that's what I love. But once, the quarantine hit and I had to then figure out how to be a math teacher and be a nurse and a therapist, and there's nowhere to take your kids. They can't even see their friends. So you're trying to play sports with them outside and cooking every single meal. It was so nonstop that I didn't even know like what I wanted to eat for lunch. It was just 100% about my family, which is wonderful, but I didn't know what I liked anymore.
Right.
There was no time to watch a TV show or I had no downtime. So I always, like, throughout my whole life, I always went back to art as a way to, like, as a stress reliever and a way to heal and be able to process my own thoughts. So I just went back to my painting, and through that, I was able to like regain some energy again and be all these things that everyone else needs me to be, because I felt like I had something for myself again. And that's really what it was. It was more for me, and just the bonus of now other people enjoying it is really like the icing on the cake.
Well, I think, and you and I talked about this briefly when we first spoke, I think that approach to it is probably the best way to do it. You're making something that that you enjoy, and you're creating something that you love. And the fact that other people are participating, other people want it, that's just kind of like a bonus. That's like it's a great bonus, and it's nice to form like a community. But I felt the same way when I started making like my hot sauce, and I started selling my hot sauce and rotisserie rub. And I was doing it because I loved pain, and putting myself through pain. And that's another podcast. But I remember making it for the first time and just being like so filled with self-doubt, and being like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if anyone's gonna like it. Like, I annoyed my wife so much because I made her taste it like 20 times. I'm like, is this good? She's like, I told you it's good. I'm like, yeah, I know you told me it's good, but like, try it again. You sure it's not too spicy? She's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, well, I did a little something. She's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Like, so it got to the point where I was like, I need to maybe share this with other people. But when you get that validation from other people, I think it becomes even more clear that this thing that you did for you is now, being shared with other people, which is awesome, And I mean, I did want to ask too. So was there any, like, when you started that, was there any, like, cause I go through this with my cooking all the time. Was there any like self-doubt, or like, were you hesitant? Did you start out with a few paintings and you were just like, ugh, and you just like threw them out? Like
Yeah.
any,
I mean, the fact that I posted them
yeah.
to me was like a major, I felt very exposed
Okay.
because my art has always been like very personal to me.
Right.
And I never sold it, and I never talked about it.
Right.
So it was like felt like I was taking this big risk, and to get such positive feedback, and also this community of artists and small business owners and just my neighbors and the community. It's just been so validating that it's been a wonderful experience.
Yeah. I mean, and that's when you can have fun while doing it. That's nice. I mean, so you mentioned, this is a food podcast. Okay. I'm not sure how much or often you cook, any favorite dishes, anything like that. So I'll get into the more in-depth stuff with food later, because you and I can talk about food and art as a canvas, hint, hint,
Right.
collaboration. But I don't know. I mean, all right. So during these, mother of God, I can't even remember. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 6-ish months. What's something maybe that's been kind of repetitive on the dinner table, whether it's from you, your husband, anybody, that you've maybe you didn't used to like, or you just kind of like were like, like blasé about, whatever, and now it's just like you're like fucking like, yeah, like you're just like, you see it and you're just like, oh my God, like what's,
You're not going to be impressed here.
that's, hey, you know what? No, it's all about simple food for me.
11 and 13.
Okay.
Staples are mac and cheese,
Boom. Okay.
chicken nuggets,
Yes.
different shapes of French fries,
There we go.
and our quarantine experience, throwing in some lettuce leaves when we can.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing exciting going on in the kitchen. My husband does the cooking, and I am the wrong guest for what do you cook in the kitchen.
No, that's fine. I mean, just like eating, like even in like something that he even cooks for you that you're just like, oh my God.
So my husband started making salmon for me. He doesn't fish and would leave the room whenever I ate fish. But he makes a mean salmon, dill and lemon, and some turmeric.
Turmeric. Yeah.
Puts that in. It's very good. So he makes a salmon now. He won't eat.
Salmon is amazing.
And a lot of barbecuing.
Ah, well, barbecue. I mean, if you have the resources to barbecue, trust me, that probably saved so many people's lives this year.
I'm sure.
I mean, the first month or so of quarantine. Now, granted, I wasn't fully in quarantine. I've been going back to work since like April 1st.
Right. Essential worker?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I work at a school for the blind, and I'm in the office of the executive director. So we started coming back once a week, because even though all the kids and all the staff were gone, I'm a 12-month employee. I'm not a teacher, because I don't even have close to that amount of patience. So, they still had needed people like me just to kind of help the operations still go in the background while everyone was getting ready to eventually come back. But so what I did notice though was I did all the typical stuff. I started baking a lot of bread. I mean, I've cooked my own food for a very long time, but I started baking so much bread in the beginning, like to the point where I was just like, we need like find a recipe, like we need to figure out what to do with this.
With the
Like,
bread maker machine?
no, no,
Oh,
no, I don't do a bread making machine. I have cast iron Dutch ovens,
wow.
so like ceramic, like like big heavy ones,
Yes.
and you preheat them at 500 for an hour, and then you drop the bread in with the parchment paper and bake it for 40 minutes, and you got a loaf of bread.
Amazing.
Um, but and I've made my own hot dog rolls because like on Memorial Day, I was like, how about I make some hot dog rolls? She's like, yeah, I think that would
That's
be
amazing.
cool. But I became, I don't know. I noticed that I was starting to like have to rock to get up off the couch, just like, so I was like, we should throw in some healthy meals. She's like, yeah, we haven't had vegetables in like 7 days. I was like,
Oh
okay.
my gosh.
So that was fun. But I think one thing that I've noticed is that we started discovering more recipes like together,
Yes.
and so there were things that I was starting to cook that I never really tried before, and I've always been experimental with my own recipes. I mean, I never shied away from things like octopus or like anything like that. Like I've tried to cook difficult things. I've tried complicated recipes like paella, like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing is there's this blogger, Instagram person, chef. I'm gonna stop before I insult her anymore. But her tag on Instagram is Half Baked Harvest,
Okay.
and if you don't follow her, you absolutely should.
Done.
If there's anyone who makes a plate of food that looks like a piece of art, but it's still basic, simple, just wholesome food, it's her.
Yeah.
And so one of her recipes was for a grilled cheddar cheese with bacon and tomato, except it's on sourdough bread, and pressed on the outside of the bread is butter with everything bagel seasoning.
Oh, nice.
So it is and I actually I made it and posted it like a month or two ago, but it was everything. Yeah, so it's an everything bagel grilled cheese with cheddar and bacon.
Uh,
And I remember the first time we made that, we were like, we need to make this like a regular thing.
that's
And
amazing.
like, so we're having it this week too. We put it on the menu, which is great. But I've noticed that for me, it wasn't so much about. It was kind of like a reverse of what you would imagine. Some people like tested their limits and saw over these past few months, how much they were actually able to cook. And for me, I think it was more like I wanted to get back to why I enjoyed food
Mhm.
and cooking.
Yes.
I think that I wanted to get back to you know, the basic kind of root of everything. And
Mhm.
so it was like a lot of grilled cheese. It was a lot of like simple pasta dishes. Yeah, like the first dish that I ever made when we moved into our first apartment back in, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago, something like that, was just like sauteed in olive oil, garlic with
Yes.
red chili flakes, parsley, and then you throw in pasta and you put on cheese, and that's it. It's called pasta aglio olio. It's just pasta, oil, red chili flakes, and garlic.
Yes.
It's the tastiest thing in the world. If it's cooked just right, it's like, and I always remember that because that was like the first meal we had in our apartment together. And it's just like, I wanted that feeling again. I wanted the feeling of like, this has like 3 ingredients and it is so much better than, you know, 90,000 other things that I've eaten in my life.
Right.
So one thing I was curious about, all that in mind, is my kind of like Zen moment was when I wanted to like get back to the level where I was like, all right, this is so simple and so tasty and hearty and good. And you mentioned something in the article about, well, first of all, you mentioned a few things about Bob Ross, and that man I've been watching since I was a child. He's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. Okay, I've watched almost every single episode. Even when it was just streaming, even when they used to do reruns on PBS,
Yeah.
and then when they put it on Netflix, I was like, "Are you fucking?" I was like so excited. I was like screaming. I was like, "Bob Ross!" I was like yelling in the house because like I grew up watching like.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned that he kind of taught you how to use cooking as a meditation. Sorry, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
painting as a meditation. Um, and I'm
Now that I'm a grown up, he must have been on something, and I'm not sure what it was, but
yeah,
in his zone, I don't know
yeah,
what it is. God bless him.
yeah.
Is really, yes, therapy.
Yeah. And the way that he would kind of just make it known the whole time that you were kind of like the master of your own domain, that you could kind of create whatever you wanted. And I think a lot of his like Zen kind of like approach came from, I don't know if you know this, but he was actually a master sergeant in the Air Force.
I have no idea.
And his job was discipline. So he used to be the one who had to scream at people and make them clean latrines with toothbrushes and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so he made a promise when he left the military that he would never yell again.
I never knew that. Love it.
I know, it made me so happy when I heard that. I was like, but
Yeah.
and he died. It's such a shame. He died like relatively young too, from I think something having to do with his heart or cancer. But yeah, I mean, that's why when he started painting, he was like, he swore he would never yell again. And he was a very charming, happy dude. But
And there's no mistakes, just happy accidents.
there you go.
And
And
that's such a great thing, especially like when you're raising kids, to just turn something that you think is a mistake into
yeah,
something positive.
I thought you were going into a very different direction with that. Sorry. I thought I thought you were gonna say, like when you have a kid and you have to say, "Don't worry, there's no mistakes." I was like, I was mentally preparing for a very different route that you were gonna take. Okay.
No, I'm just saying, especially with paint, you can't make a mistake and you keep working at it.
You can turn it into whatever you want.
And all the arts, and cooking is an art form, one that I
For some people, yeah.
well, it's so sensory and
Yeah. Well, I think the reason that cooking can be um, multifaceted is that much like how different colors stimulate different areas of the brain, right? I mean, there was like an inbound marketing conference that I went to for advertisements back in 2016
right.
with my old job, and there was this whole seminar from this woman who was a PhD in psychiatry and psychology, and she literally was using science and automatic responses from the brain, and she was using it in advertisements that she would pitch to companies. Super evil, but also like brilliant, where she's like, I know that these colors set off certain stimuli. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, well, two things. One, what would those colors necessarily be for you while you're painting and even after the fact? And two, the whole thing about like the meditation, has that dissipated like at all, or do you have to keep challenging yourself to kind of keep it yourself in that zone, or is it just kind of still been as enjoyable as when you first started doing this?
Great question. So the first one about the colors,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's universal that some colors trigger, happy endorphins. For me, it's neon colors.
Okay.
It's different hues of pink for some reason, maybe just because I'm a girl and like I grew up in a pink room and I just always loved it. And I put glitter acrylic paints, and I put glitter in a lot of my designs. So when it dries and it hits the light, it's just this like super duper sparkle.
And just pop. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's overwhelming, but it's just so like, it's so pleasing to look at.
Which is nice. Yeah.
They talk about writer's block, and there's definitely, I think, all creative types.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, chefs are creative types.
Yeah, I went through a very I don't want to say dry spot. I went through a very non-existent period on social media for 2-3 weeks, that sounds stupid, but honestly, it's like for someone I was posting once or twice a day since like March until like August or September, and then it just like stopped.
Because you weren't happy with what you were producing.
Yeah, it was that, and there was also a lot going on. We had just started the process of like moving, and we had just closed on this apartment, and it was like all this, and it was that plus of working full time, and it was like, it was a lot. But I also would go in the kitchen. I think I'm trying to remember what it was, but I tried cooking something that it was something simple. I had cooked it like a million times, like something I think it was like some kind of like egg in the morning.
Okay.
And it was something that I knew that I knew how to cook.
Right.
And I just completely botched it. And because I wasn't even like mentally there.
Yeah.
And I remember just like turning the stove off, leaving the egg in the pan, and just like walking away.
Yeah.
Which I don't do often. I'm not a horrible roommate. I'm like, I was so upset. And like, I think that can happen a lot where you kind of have to try to trigger different areas of your mind to kind of be a little more creative. And I think for me, this quarantine, it was more like stop trying to complicate things and go back to the basics of like why you love this food, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, well, you know,
People did that, the back to basics type of mentality.
right.
Um, yeah, so for me, I've thrown away a number of canvases, and I hate wasting. I hate wasting paint,
I
and
know.
I
Yeah, it's the
hate
worst.
wasting canvas. It's as
Yeah.
bad as, for you to waste food.
Yeah.
Um, and to not be able to fix it
Right.
and just throw it away is like my worst thing.
I'm
But
sure.
you have to be in that mindset. And to make happy art, you have to be in a good mood. So, like on a
Yeah.
rainy day and like I'm just not feeling it, I'm not going to paint.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to turn out.
I think not forcing yourself is
Yeah.
also, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who, if you did this by trade and it wasn't an option, some
Right.
people, like writers, will say sometimes you have to force yourself to sit down and just like write a chapter. But, you know, it depends on the art, like what you're creating. I don't think that's always the case. And
Yeah.
like you said, if it's a rainy day, if you're not feeling it, if you want to be lazy, if you want to stay in joggers all day and just drink wine at 1 p.m., like you can, you know, like that's the beauty of it. Um, especially during quarantine, the time at which people started drinking, like,
So that, there was no 5 o'clock somewhere. It was like,
no, no, no. It's like, well, it was 5 o'clock last month, so that counts.
yeah,
Um, but
definitely.
yeah, so all right, so I mean, I guess what you're saying is like the trick is you kind of have to like listen to your body. You kind of got to like
Yeah.
you got to feel it out. Like if you're not feeling it, don't
Yeah.
try to force it basically. And that way you kind of keep the meditative kind of state going.
Yeah, just that I want to be authentic to my art, and
Okay.
like my art is an extension of my personality, and my
Right.
personality is a smiling, happy person.
You are very bubbly. You are extremely bubbly.
I'm bubbly,
Yeah.
but not every day.
No, well
I
nobody
have some
is.
off days that I
No,
just
of course.
that I'm not bubbling.
No, if you didn't have any off days and you were always laughing and smiling, I
Yeah,
have words for people like that. They're called psychopaths.
they're
So
like,
so no, it's no, but it's good to have that much of a general outlook. Like that
yeah,
kind of general outlook where you're that positive, at least that much is great. I don't have that. I I get super dark sometimes. Like if like sometimes I try to stay positive and remember that it's not the end of the world, but if I overcook even just like pasta, sometimes I'll just look at my wife and I'm like, I should have just fallen on top of a knife years ago because I am useless to the rest of the world. Like I'll literally go into like this tangent where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore, you know. Um,
you can still eat the pasta, I'm
oh,
sure.
I do. No matter how horrible my dishes are, I never waste food.
Right.
Like even sometimes like she'll cook something and she'll be like, I can't eat this. I'm throwing it out. I'm like, pop, 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 pop. I'm like, hold on. I'm just like, no, no, it's okay. It's good. Let me just add some salt on here. No, I think it's great that you even have something like that in your life, though. I think, like you were saying, this whole started as you trying to kind of identify something that was for yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's how I started with this page. I mean, I started with Captain Cook because I have a blog, I have the podcast, I have Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
YouTube is like, man, I mean, this will go on YouTube, but you know, so I probably shouldn't say
Well,
that because people will see it and they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, they'll be watching it and be like, wow, he totally doesn't give a shit. No, YouTube I just kind of used to put up from other channels and stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, I think I'm gonna start doing this with the Zoom podcasts because it works out pretty well.
You don't need to leave the house.
No, exactly, and I get to have my nice shiny gold microphone, which I love.
I do like
And
that. I
yeah,
feel that under equipped.
I know. Yeah, you know, it's like I said when we were just in the rehearsal. If you knew how
Yeah.
cheap it was, you would not even believe me. So,
An Amazon
um,
thing. I'm gonna look this up.
it's super. Honestly, Amazon.
Yeah.
Just go to Amazon, and they're all like USBs that go into your computer.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, just type in was it podcast mics
Okay.
on Amazon. I literally get everything from Amazon. We just got a couch from Amazon. I'm not even kidding. Amazon has their own brand of furniture called
Right.
called Rivet, and it's like nice like mid-century looking furniture, which is like our
Yeah.
style is like mid-century everything.
Same.
Um, and yeah, it's like it's insane, and they came in 2 days, free
Yeah.
shipping.
You
Which
don't have to wait.
no, they just came with a big ass box, and they're like, "Can you open the door?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they just threw it in. And I was like, "Okay,
Right.
yeah."
Amazing. You
But
can
it's
order
called, yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, it's called a Rivet. You should check it out. But so one question I did want to throw at you there. Do you know who Jackson Pollock is?
Oh, come on.
All right. I knew that question. Are you a fan? Because your work and his work have, it seems like they're very similar but very different. I'm not sure about your technique.
Yeah.
I know he had his paintings looked like just like insane sometimes. And he was actually, I went to purchase, and we actually, I
Oh.
guess it was like the first president of the college or something like that. And back in the 50s, one of the presidents of the college bought an original Jackson Pollock when he was like
Oh,
still, yeah. So in the Newberger Museum, by the way, which you're not too far in Rybrook, if you ever want to go to the Newberger,
yes.
so amazing. And I'm hoping they still have that original Jackson Pollock in there. But I went there with my wife when I was a student for free, and you're just standing in front of like this giant, like 12-foot long,
Amazing.
canvas that he did. Now, what's similar is that you do kind of have this what can seem chaotic at first,
Yeah.
except yours has a lot more symmetry. I've noticed a lot of your paintings, at least the drip kind of paintings. Now, how systematic is that technique, and is it like automatic at this point where you just like don't even think about it, or do you still have to like kind of go through the steps like every single time? You know what I
Your
mean?
paintings are really good for someone who doesn't paint.
Thank you very much.
There is a system for me, and even my abstract work, like something like this,
Nice. See that I like.
and that's a 5 foot. And oh, look, I can even do that. Well, that's a big.
Oh, that's very nice.
So I can recreate that. So there is a technique for me, and there is a system. And I just did a commission. They said, we love this, but different colors. I did recreate it because I am developing some of my own techniques, and I'm not inventing anything.
No, but like
It's my interpretation of other artists,
right.
and they're this drip art.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists do it.
Oh yeah.
But I do a little different spin because on the end, I sort of like tip over the canvas and dip it in the wasted paint.
Gotcha.
It has like a coated drip of a coated marbling on the bottom.
Right.
I just something like that. I didn't want to waste the paint.
Yeah, no.
So I dipped the painting again in the paint, and it just made beautiful marbling. So for me, it is a technique, but also I do lose myself in it 5 hours, 6 hours.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, my God, like I'll forget sometimes when I'm preparing a meal, if it's something I have to prep a lot for, that I'm actually cooking for another human. So like I'll be there in the cutting board, and I like just sharpen my knife, and I'm cutting everything, and I'm getting the zucchini sliced just how I want.
Right.
And my wife will come in and be like, hungry. And like I'm like, yeah, no, it's coming. She's like, okay, it's been like an hour and a half. I'm like, what? And like
We're on a time clock with different things.
yeah, exactly. Well, and I've been in the back of a kitchen before, and being in a professional kitchen is very, 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 very different. Things are more like a system, and it's not. And I think that's what separates it, is like, even if you were pumping out commissions as your main source of income, and you didn't have a choice, meaning like you weren't doing this by choice, you were like, I have to do this. Like you didn't have a husband or wife or husband or kids or anything. You had your own apartment. You had like a small little bedroom, and you're like, I'm going to miss rent, blah, blah, blah. If it was like 100% necessity, it may take a different kind of toll out of you. It may be something that you don't fully enjoy, and I think with cooking, and you're in the back of a kitchen, it takes a lot to do that for a living, anything, and still continue to enjoy it the way that you did when you weren't getting paid for it,
That's
and
really cool.
I think, I mean, it's with anything. I mean, if I went into a kitchen, the only thing I would really be classified right now, trained wise, as is maybe like a line cook. And line cooks are like the heroes of the kitchen, as Anthony Bourdain constantly reminded us. So, you could sit there you could stand there for 8 hours a day and just dice onions. That's your whole day.
Really?
Dicing onions. Like you are the onion guy. And, you get 30 bag pounds of potatoes a day, and or onions, and you just have to dice them up, and that's it. And if you can do that and still be enthusiastic about whatever you're doing, it shows a real commitment. So you getting commissions and having people actually pay is very telling, because it shows that you actually do, care, and that you are putting that much into it, which is great.
Yeah, but
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry. my excitement is still there. And I hope I would never get to the point where, you know, I don't know. I have said no to some commissions. You know, I'm like, it's not really what I do. I
Right.
can do it, but my heart isn't in it.
Right.
So I don't want to compromise like what I think people love about my art, which is my personality in it and just happy stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't want to compromise that.
That's awesome.
I'm lucky I don't have to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some people don't have a choice. So what's I mean, we're coming in on a few minutes here that I just wanted to mark. So what's coming next? Like, what eventually when coronavirus goes away in
Yeah.
10 years, what do you see yourself doing with this? Like how to expand it and get, past the whole quarantine kind of phase?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing events. I'm doing adult paint and sip nights for like neighbors. I'm teaching classes to kids twice a week after school. It's going to be
Great.
more of that. I'm always going to do my commissions. But not everyone has a blank wall of 6 feet.
That's
So
true.
I'm working on something called,
Especially in Westchester.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm working on something called Anywhere Art, which are mini canvases,
Oh, nice.
mini masterpieces. You can put on a bookshelf, a desk, because everyone's stuck working from home, and just a little piece of joy in your room. You don't need 6 feet. So I'm trying to spread it out so that everyone can get a piece of sparkle.
That's awesome. Have you ever considered doing an entire wall on the wall itself as a canvas?
Well, I have. That's another show. I'll take you around.
Okay, all right, that's great. Yeah, that's good.
My
All right.
wall, yes.
I was gonna say that because that's when I think about it in the head. I'm like, that's what I'm picturing is just like an entire like wall of just that kind of drip,
I'll send you
Um,
a picture.
yeah.
No, but my goal is to be on that 11-foot ladder with the canvas
Right.
and be up there.
Oh God. All right. So we're coming in on the close. Just a couple minutes here. Before that, something I ask all my guests that are on.
Yeah.
This game in school when we were young had many names. Sleep, marry, kill, fuck, marry, kill, whatever you want to call it, right? Of like the three, you know what I mean? Like the three guys you would, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I do that with food.
Okay.
So one meal, and it could be anything you've ever eaten. Doesn't have to be anything your husband cooked. You don't have to worry about anybody's feelings. Anything you've ever eaten in your life.
Yes.
One that you would just have like a whatever one night stand with, one that you would like just never eat again, one that you would kill, and one that you would marry, one that you would have for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? A dish, a food, anything.
Oh God.
So
So
yeah, whenever you're ready.
you can't put me on the spot like this.
No, yeah, it's okay. I know it's I do it to everybody, so don't worry about it.
Okay, the thing I love is mom's matzo ball soup. So I
Okay.
love mom's matzo ball soup.
That would be like Mary. Like you could have that every
Showing
day.
colors here.
Gotcha.
I do like my Indian dish once in a while, the chicken tiki masala. That's
Okay.
good once a
That would
month.
be the exotic one night stand, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be exotic, very
Okay.
exotic.
Okay.
And then the don't need it. I'm like really sick of chicken barbecue. So
Barbecue chicken. Yeah. After this summer, you're like, I don't ever want to see a barbecue chicken ever again.
the barbecue stuff. So
That's good. Oh God. All right. Guys, so we're coming in on close. Marla, thank you so much. Wherever I post this, I'm going to put your tag. But just to remind everybody, you can find her at MarlaBeth_designs on Instagram, MarlaBethDesigns on Facebook as well, right? And www.MarlaBethDesigns.com. You have the last minute or so. The floor is yours. Anything you want to say, anything you want to plug. It's all up to you.
a lot of fun. I was nervous. You said it would be fun. It was fun.
Yeah. I try to keep it light,
I
So,
felt like I went somewhere tonight.
right, which is good. And this is the least that I've cursed in a very long time, so that's great. That's good. I got it out of my system when I was cooking. That's good. So a lot of bad language and heat. That's pretty much every kitchen in the world. Anyway, Marla, I want to thank you so much for coming on. All right, I'm going to stop the recording pretty soon. Guys, you will be able to find this episode of Spicy Memories on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on SoundCloud if you're still floating around that boat. And I'm probably going to throw it up on YouTube. I'll put it on my Facebook page. Don't forget to go to my Instagram at Captain Cooks Food, my Etsy shop. What's my Etsy shop? Etsy.com/shop/Captain Cooks Food. My blog, CaptainCooksFood.wordpress.com. Do not miss out this opportunity to check out Miss Marla Beth. I will tag all of her stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Stay classy and stay with us for episode 9. Later.